You are listening to the Manifested Sis podcast, a safe space for women of color to explore all things manifesting, wellness, self-care, and personal development. You are always manifesting, and now you can do it intentionally and consciously to create the life of your dreams. Each episode gives you actionable tips and strategies from the spiritual to the practical that will help you get from where you are to exactly where you want to be with grace and ease. Thanks for tuning in. Here's your host, intuitive life coach, Danny Faust.
Hello and welcome to the Manifested Sis podcast. This is Danny, your host, and I'm so excited that you are listening today. Thank you for hopping back in with me once again. And if you're new, hi, it's me, Danny, life coach extraordinaire and woo-woo intuitive. So today we're talking to Charmaine Griffin. She's a writer and a small business owner from Los Angeles, California. She's best known as a contributor to Huffington Post and Blavity and LA Travel and a bunch of other magazines that I am not going to list because it's a lot of them. So when she's not writing, she's running Kollective Koils. And that is what I think you guys are going to want to check out. Kollective Koils is a natural hair care line with handmade hair products, especially this really dope oil for kinky, coily, and curly haired naturals. Her life is centered around wellness, spirituality, art, music, activism, and her love of plants, cats, and tacos. So you're going to dig her. You're going to dig Charmaine. I like her vibe, and I think you will too. You can find her at Kollective Koils. That's K for collective and K for coils at KollectiveKoils.com or Kollective Koils on Instagram. And before we jump in with our conversation, which I think is really going to resonate deeply because of her candidness and openness, I want to remind you that today's episode is sponsored by me. If you want personalized one-on-one manifesting coaching, reach out to your girl. I offer mindset, magic, manifesting, and motivation all smooshed into one to help you create your dream life with ease. It's all about that ease, y'all. Manifesting is not supposed to feel like drudgery. So head over to bit.ly/manifest with Danny and check out your options and shoot me an email or DM me at the Danny Faust on Instagram and we will talk. All right. So we're going to hop right in with Charmaine Griffin of Kollective Koils. Okay. Charmaine, thank you so much for being here on Manifested Sis.
Thank you so much, Danny, for having me.
Oh, I'm excited. Oh, yay. Okay. So I'm going to start off this episode with a few speed dating questions. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. The first question, who inspires you?
My great grandmother, who is no longer living, but she literally is the reason why I wake up every day and work hard. That woman was strong, and strong with quotes because you know that word, but just strong and awesome. So
I'm sure she's amazing. And what is your favorite book?
My favorite book, my favorite book is The Coldest Winter Ever.
Wow.
That's a little ratchet, so I'm going to just take it back.
Judging you.
I've read that book 10 times since I was a kid. And I think the reason why is because Winter's confidence was something as a kid I did not have. So to see her just like walk in the room, like on like this like bad bitch status, I was like, ooh, what's that like? So yeah, her.
Okay, I'm going to put my judgment aside. That's a very good answer. Fun fact about that book, when I read it, I was like, this is the best book ever. And I made my then boyfriend, now husband, read it. And he loved me, so he did read it. And he's to this day is like, that's the worst piece of trash I've ever read. I'm just like, what? It was so good.
It was so good. It was so good.
Very dramatic. Okay.
Yes.
What is the best advice you've ever received?
To do it afraid.
Ooh. What was the last thing that you've done afraid?
Hop on IG Live and talk.
Yay!
Talk about my brand. That is something that was very nerve-wracking, the concept of it. But I realized that a lot of times when we get past our thoughts and just do the thing, it tends to help a lot. So
Yeah, things are always scarier in our minds.
yes.
And then we do it and we're like, oh, that's it? Shit, I can do that again.
Yep. Yep.
So you think you're going to do it again?
Yes, often.
Yay.
Yes.
Okay, what is your favorite quote?
My favorite quote is one that I cannot fully remember off the top of my head. It's by Maya Angelou. And she's basically saying, like, people can show you who they are, but it's basically the idea that you're not going to forget how someone makes you feel. And I'm sure that someone listening to this is like, I know that quote, and they're saying the quote right now. Thank you for your help. But yes, it's like, you're never going to forget how somebody makes you feel. And that resonates a lot to me on just how I interact with other people and how I show up for other people, because I don't know, empathy and feeling and energy and vibes, like that lasts for a very long time. And you can feel that. And when you leave a good impression on somebody and have good energy with them, they're going to remember those moments with you. So
Absolutely. I can barely remember the conversations I had earlier today, but I know how I felt about them. So I like that quote too.
yes.
I like that it informs how you interact and it makes you be a better woman with every interaction you have. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, last speed dating question is, what does manifesting mean to you?
Manifesting means to me claiming something that may not have happened yet, but you know in your spirit that it's coming. And you know, because you've got like this gut confirmation and you don't know where it came from, but you've got like this confirmation, this vision, and you're like, that's going to happen. And I'm going to do whatever I need to do to make it happen. And then I'm just going to let spirit do the rest. So it's kind of like a call, a gut feeling, and then just letting it happen, letting it flow.
Allowing. Yeah, I love that. I love it. So you've manifested a hella good shit in your life, including your amazing business, Kollective Koils. I want to hear your journey. I want you to tell the audience your story, where you came from, where you're at, where you're going. I want to know it all.
Yes. So when I started Kollective Koils, which is now officially a natural hair care line for kinks, coils, and curls, all with the K, because we're focusing a lot on type 4 naturals. So when we think of type 4 naturals, we think of like kinks and coils, and used to think of that as a bad thing. But I've kind of, with the brand, changed that narrative and kind of coupled along with other type 4 naturals who are reclaiming their time around that word, kinky and coily. So in 2015 is when I started Kollective Koils. And around this time, I think I was on my second big chop. I had moved to Korea and I was living out there for maybe about 3 or 4 months, had no access to natural hair products at all. And I was just trying to figure out, like, what am I supposed to do with my hair out here? Like, it's cute, but at the time during my second big chop, I really didn't know how to take care of my hair really well. And I needed some inspiration. So I started looking up YouTubers and looking on Facebook, and I couldn't find too many type 4 naturals that I could just connect with. I mean, I found like 1 or 2, but I really didn't find like a whole platform full. So I said, all right, I'm going to start an Instagram page and I'm going to start like looking up type 4 naturals. I'm just going to start sharing them to this page. And I don't really have an intention behind this, but something may come of it one day. So something came of it one day, and that could be like that. I guess that was like some level of manifesting, but I was really serious about like, I gotta find like, you know, these Instagrammers and share them, these YouTubers, and I gotta share their stories and the captions have to be right. And I gotta shout them out. And through doing that, not only did it give me confidence in having type 4 natural hair, but it also helped amplify a lot of these other type 4 naturals that weren't getting exposure. So the page just grew and grew. I remember the first year being really stressed out about getting 5,000 followers, and now it's over 40,000. And I was just like, yes. And it's just funny looking back, like how stressed I was about 5,000 followers and just being like, why? Like, how come? And honestly, it wasn't for myself. It was genuinely because I wanted a lot of these type 4 naturals to just get more play on the Instagram world and Facebook and YouTube, so that other women like me didn't feel like they were on this little island of like, well, what about us girls with type 4 hair? Like, what about us kinky girls? Like, we don't have like kinky curly hair. We don't have much representation. So again, the page started to grow. I continued in my own hair journey of more big chops. So more learning about what I needed to do to take care of my hair, learned a lot about self-sabotage in my own life and in my natural hair journey. And something that a lot of people don't know actually is that in 2016, I just paused on Kollective Koils. I got to a point where I was just like, I don't know if this page is useful, even though I was being told and my DMs told me that this page is useful and a lot of women want to be featured and a lot of women want to share their stories. I didn't feel that way. I was going through my own issues with just self-confidence. So I just paused. I stopped, kind of threw it to the wayside and said, I'm going to focus on everything else in my life. And a year later, I don't know really what shifted as much as there was just like this pull in my spirit that said, like, you need to go back to this. You need to revisit Kollective Koils and do whatever you need to do so that you can continue to share these stories, because you're doing a service. It's not all about you. You're doing some work for someone else. And the women who were in your DMs before, they'll come back and they'll ask for you to share their story and share their page. So I continued to do Kollective Koils. I hopped back on the wagon and I picked up where I left off. And the last time, I was still going through my own natural hair journey. And the last time I big chopped was in 2018 because I was going through a breakup. And my best friend said something about, let's make 2018 just about self-love. Like, I don't care what you got to do. This is selfish 2018. You're going to, at the time I was living in Houston, so Korea to Houston. I'm living in Houston at the time. And she's like, move back to LA. Move back to LA and just get started on your self-care journey. Focus on yourself and focus on, you know, your projects, Kollective Koils, anything else personal, and just do you. So I chopped off all my hair. I said, I'm moving back to LA. I don't have a plan, but LA's home, so I'll figure it out. And when I got back home, that's when I started getting not only serious about just myself, but about my just self-love, about holistic care. I got really into just plant-based and eating right. I became pescatarian. Just really, I started going to therapy really actively. And my hair was growing. So I was using specific products to grow my hair. So that kind of like segued into me figuring out the product line specifically for Kollective Koils, because I suffer from alopecia. So when I'm really stressed out, I get clean bald patches, whether it's on my edges or on the crown of my hair. And I was starting to figure out, like, what concoctions can I put together to start growing my hair back? I realized that Jamaican black castor oil was great for thickening my hair, but it wasn't necessarily helping to regrow those spots that were like clean bald. So I did some research. I found out that rosemary oil was a DHT blocker, which is the hormone that can lead to hair loss. And when I found that out, I was like, oh, shoot, I'm about to start using this in my hair. So I mixed that with Jamaican black castor oil and a couple oils that I love, peppermint oil and sweet almond oil, rosehip oil, and started using that on my scalp consistently. Not only did my areas that I was suffering from alopecia grew back very quickly, but also I started to just notice quick hair growth. And I said, okay, I've got something here. I'm going to continue to use this product, but I still didn't think I was going to turn it into a business leg of Kollective Koils. It just seemed like something I was using on my own. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until in the beginning of this year that the demand started to grow, that people who had been following me since the beginning of the journey, they were asking, like, are you going to come out with a product? Like, we hear the buzz. We want to see a product with Kollective Koils. We want to learn more about you. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I prayed about it. I just got quiet, and it was like, just share you. Share what you use on your hair. Start sharing your journey. People will relate to that. So I bottled up the hair oil, and here we are. And now Kollective Koils is a full-on brand, a full-on natural hair care brand. And we have a hair growth oil, and we also have a hair growth guide that pairs really well with the oil to just teach you how to grow your hair with just steps that are a little bit more than just putting oil on your scalp. There's other steps involved, like massaging your scalp, making sure you're drinking enough water, getting enough rest, exercising. So all of that jam-packed together.
Fantastic. You gave us so much there. I don't even know where to begin. Okay. First of all, kudos to you.
Thank you.
You overcame some shit, and you're thriving on the back end. So yay. But I loved in this story how the hair, it was like a romantic comedy. Like the hair situation paralleled the life situation, and we had the ups and downs with the chops and the growth, as well as, you know, your self-sabotage, the confidence growing, the hair growing, all this. I loved it. I laughed, I cried. Okay, so I have so many questions, and I have to go back towards the beginning of your tale. Yeah. It sounds like you were already kind of in a manifesting mode, because you saw what was missing in the market, you saw what you would like to see, and then you legit manifested it, and it was a manifestation for all the people that you were serving. Did you recognize it as that when you were in that place, or was it just like, I want to do this thing?
I recognized it after the fact, honestly. Like, I just had this sense of urgency to start it. I had a lot of quiet time with myself when I was in Korea, and I was just in the spirit of just wanting to share knowledge. I'm a former teacher, so that just comes natural to me. And honestly, like, I just saw a need and just got irritated with not seeing enough representation. And I felt I could solve that problem. Now, I wasn't at the time thinking like this could be something huge and like have to like, literally, I was just trying to solve a problem and just trying to amplify other women's voices that I felt like they just weren't getting enough shine. Mm-hmm. And I needed it for confidence building too. And I felt like if I could benefit from it, somebody else could.
Well, hashtag representation matters. Yeah. And how did you notice your confidence growing as you were working on the business?
Through searching for other type 4 naturals, it helped me know that my hair was beautiful and it was okay to wear it out confidently. One of the things that I realized in living in Los Angeles is that not everybody was rocking their natural hair out. Like, it was like protective style central, but nobody was just wearing like a fro or a twist out or a braid out and still feeling cute. And I said, okay, well, if they're doing it, I'm going to do it, even though I live in LA and, you know, nobody is doing this out here. But by seeing other naturals and like doing that research and sharing their content, I feel like it subconsciously gave me the strength to say, you know, my hair is beautiful and I'm going to represent my type 4 hair.
I love that. And you really probably inspired so many moms of children with type 4 hair to make their daughters feel like their hair is beautiful and, you know, bypass that stigma that messes with the psyche.
Yes.
So the breakup and the haircut, let's jump over there.
All right.
Was the business, I'm just unsure about the part, was the business still going on while you were in Texas in the relationship pre pre-Big Chop?
So it wasn't. While I was living in Texas, I had not started Kollective Koils as being a business. It was still just an Instagram page where I was sharing influencers. And I was teaching at the time, and it was my last year of teaching. I had actually worked my way up in education to becoming a dean.
Okay.
And it was a huge deal because it was like, oh my gosh, like Charmaine's the first dean in the family. Like, this is big. Like, she's big time. But inside, I'm like, I love education, but I'm not truly doing what I feel I want to do. And I had talked to psychics, I had talked to therapists, I had talked to everybody for advice. And the calling was constantly, you need to go to LA. You need a drastic change because you're stifling yourself. And the breakup was like it ripped all my reality away. Because I just had this perfect image of how my life was supposed to go, especially like a year before. It was a year before I turned 30. So I'm like, my life is supposed to be perfect and I'm supposed to get married and have babies and do all of this stuff.
Yeah. Those stories, yeah.
Yes. And things went super left. And that's, again, I was at my lowest point. That year was very low for me emotionally, mentally. And I think my best friend kind of saved my life by saying, come to LA. And I think 2 nights before she said it is when I looked in the mirror and I sat there and just cut my hair and just cut it off. And she was like, come to LA. I promise I got you. Like, you're going to be okay.
Shout out to the best friend. Can we just give it up for her one time? Shout out to the best friend. We need someone like that in our life.
Yes. And so I moved to LA, and the intention was for me to pursue my writing career. I'm actually a writer, my 9 to 5, because we have 9 to 5, some of us. So I have a 9 to 5, and I'm a copywriter, and I moved to LA with the intention of being a writer, but I still had Kollective Koils in the background, and Kollective Koils was still my love and my passion. So when I moved out here, my writing career took off, and a psychic actually told me my writing career would take off really well, but she didn't say that that was like the end all be all. It was just, this is going to happen when you make this change, and you're going to start loving yourself more. And I'm like, okay, maybe she's right. But I was a little skeptical because I was in the depths of my crap. So when I moved to LA, I saw a huge shift. Not only in my mindset, but just in the way I viewed myself.
Talk to me about that. Talk to me about the shifts that were made there that took you from the depth up to the heights.
So I feel like, number one, cutting my hair was like the cathartic release. It was
an energetic shift for sure.
Yes, it shifted my whole energy. And it wasn't like the big chops that I had before, where I was just like, I'm bored or I'm tired of seeing my hair and whatever. This was like, I need to just wash myself and start completely over and see myself, truly see myself and love what I see in the mirror. So that, coupled with putting myself out there as a writer, pitching to all of these different brands and these different publications, that was like, I'm completely bare right now. I'm not in a relationship. I don't have someone else to validate me. I've got to validate myself and challenge myself, and be in LA, not as little Charmaine who grew up in LA, but as I am grown now, and now I have to write my story. So it's been 2 years, and I've been doing hell of a story writing over these 2 years to being where I'm at right now. And again, not even thinking that I would turn Kollective Koils into what it is right now.
I love this. I love that your hair journey and your personal development journey are just so intertwined. I love that because of it, and because of you, like, recognizing that pull, that call inside you, you're manifesting this thing that's greater than you, yes. and helping so many women. I love this. So what is your self-love? What are your self-love rituals or practices? What do you do to continue and cultivate that now?
One of the biggest things I do is making claims. I started making claims when I first moved out here, and making claims is literally like I will speak an intention over my day, over my life. Just like, today is going to be a positive day. Today, I'm going to just attract light to me. I'm going to attract, great energy. I'm going to have a good interaction with someone. And, I set that claim. I might light a candle for that claim, and then I just leave it. That was over the past 2 years, the biggest thing that I did to just redirect my energy and to help me not just be in my head, but to just speak it, say it, and then just let it go and trust that whatever will come from that. So claiming and affirming myself, whether it's writing little notes throughout. I used to have like tons of notes on my mirror of just like, you're beautiful, you're strong, you're amazing. And then looking in the mirror and saying this, because there was a time that I could not look in the mirror and tell myself I was pretty or that I liked myself. I would break down and cry. I couldn't get the words out. So constantly seeing it and then literally spending time looking in the mirror and looking in my eyes and telling little Charmaine, like, you got this, girl. And I think also talking from the perspective of like the higher self version of me helped a lot too. Because when I'm just talking from me to me, it's like, I don't know if I'm saying it with the same power as when I'm like my higher self, Charm. When I'm higher self, Charmaine, I'm like, girl, you are bad. You got this. You better step into your power. Like, it's a whole different energy. So this is, kind of going into the inner child work, but it allows me to speak to that little girl that didn't get affirmed growing up.
I love this. You know what I just learned about you? You a whole witch, making claims, burning candles, mirror work. Child, you've been holding out on me.
This is true.
So, okay, this just in. Charmaine's a witch. And also, you guys need to Google her. Her name, again, is Charmaine Griffin, because she's gorgeous. And I'm looking at her like, I can't believe that this woman couldn't look in the mirror and just like flip her hair and be like, yes, I'm a bad bitch automatically. So it's always inner work, right? But I love that you're using these very core tenets of manifesting, the speaking it over your life, bringing things from thought to form through the power of the tongue, candle magic, and all these like very powerful higher self to the now self work. It's so powerful. And I'm glad that you said it and it wasn't me saying it over and over to the audience. I'm glad that someone else is like, see, it's real, guys.
It's real. It is real. I feel like one more thing I forgot to add was like that next step of it is journaling. I feel like writing down these, whether it's an affirmation or a claim or an intention or just an emotion or just a need, whatever. Sometimes I used to write down my prayers and just like let it out. Like whatever it is I needed to tell spirit, write it out. And sometimes, now this is very woo-woo, because sometimes I used to like burn what I would write and like release it.
Now you're speaking my language. Keep going.
Yeah. Sometimes I would just like, like fold it and put it somewhere that I would see like much later. But writing, because I'm a writer, it I don't know, it's like food from my soul to be able to write. And a lot of times the things that I've written, I've done consistently, especially this year. So it's like super cool to see some of those claims and intentions like actually manifest, and you can go back and you have some sort of written record of it.
Absolutely. I always say that the journal is like your proof that you're magical, because you look back and you're like, oh, I did that. Hey, that's fantastic. I love it. See, y'all, I'm not steering you wrong. Charmaine is proof and pudding. So you mentioned in your story that you started therapy. I want you to talk a little bit about that, because I know in our community, even though it is 20, people are still feeling a way about therapy, about meds, about mental health care, period.
Yes. So the first time I went to therapy, I was in college, and I went because I suffered from anxiety, but I didn't know I had anxiety. I was just like, I have panic attacks. What's going on? And so the therapist was like, and she just so happened to be a Black woman, which was super awesome. And she was like, I think you have generalized anxiety disorder. And I'm like, what's that? So, like, what's that? So she was like, we're going to start doing breathing techniques. I'm going to teach you belly breathing. I'm just going to teach you some tools to just help you so that you can manage when the panic comes over you. Because it was debilitating. Like, I missed a final over a panic attack. So I needed some support, and she helped a lot. I used her tools, and then I paused on going to therapy. Then fast forward to after I left Korea, I decided to go to therapy again, and that was to work on trauma. I didn't even know what the word trauma really meant. And so my therapist brought that to my awareness, and, I'm spilling all these beans about like my childhood and personal stuff. And she's like, yeah, girl, you got a lot of trauma, and it's showing up in your body. So, this is why you might be reacting this way to things, or why you have anxiety. So I got really serious about therapy after coaching. So I am a huge advocate of coaching, and whatever type of coaching someone receives, I think it's awesome. It's amazing. It changed my life. I say this constantly. So I went and got coaching because I was that first year in LA, I was still in that rough patch, and I needed tools. And I felt like therapy was helping me, like, with some of that trauma and unpacking, but I needed some like day-to-day kick your butt, like get up, do the work type of stuff. And that's what my coach helped me do. And that's when I learned about grounding. Like, girl, take your shoes off, go walk outside when you're freaking out.
She's a witch, I told y'all.
Yeah. And that's also when I learned about grounding, and I learned about gratitude. I don't think I understood gratitude until last year. And gratitude in the sense of I had to write down every morning what I was grateful for before I started the day. And before, I had never done that. I was just complaining, or when I woke up, I had attitude. So doing that, like, really pushed me to start my day positive, and to start my day like thinking about all the good things in my life, even when things felt tough. So gratitude, grounding, walking for 10 minutes a day, just like these tools. And then plus my coach was like checking in with me. So I felt like not only was I holding myself accountable, but someone else cared enough about me to hold me accountable. So that, and after I was working with her, I worked with her for about 2 months. Then I started real therapy. And when I say real therapy,
so it was fake therapy before.
It wasn't fake. It was different levels. So this is something people don't tell you about. At different levels of doing the work, you might need a different therapist.
Absolutely.
My first experiences definitely helped me unpack trauma. But this therapist that I have now, who I currently have, she's woo-woo.
Yes.
So that's one of the awesome things about her. And she's also very real. She's blunt, and she will say it like it is.
Give me her information after this call, please.
Oh, for sure. But she also comes from a place of love, which I really appreciate. And she is dealing with me on like a whole different level of just the trauma, but just even my mindset right now, and just where am I at right now, and how does that mirror what I experienced when I was younger, and also helping me to understand other people, because I think before I had a lot of judgment with other people, and now I'm starting to understand like they have trauma too.
Everybody's fucked up. That's right.
Everyone, even therapists, all got trauma, and they've all got issues of some sort. And it's really nice when someone has done the work and continues to do the work, and speaking your same language, so that when you go to them for a therapy session, like you feel validated, you feel seen, and you also feel held accountable. And the cool thing about it is when I started with her, I was already, because coaching kind of set me up for everything I needed to work with this therapist. Had I not gone to coaching, I don't think I would have been able to handle her.
Okay. So anyone who is listening to this, if you are on the verge, if you're just thinking about, maybe I should get coaching, maybe I should get therapy, girl, please look into it. I mean, therapy changed my life. Therapy has changed Charmaine's life. It'll change your life too. Please trust and believe. And whatever stories you're telling yourself about wanting or needing help for your mental and your emotional, throw those stories out the door and call a therapist.
Yeah,
it works.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think like the one thing that is tough, and just kind of tying back in like your question about like just in the community and the stigma around mental health is like, I am the only person in my family doing the work. And so that does make it tough, you know, as a Black woman, you know, you already feel like you're carrying the weight of like previous generations on your back. So, you know, it does get tough when I am reminded like, you know, you're breaking cycles and you're doing the work, but then kind of like, okay, but I'm tired. But it's worth it. It's worth it, especially now. It's worth it because we just need someone to talk to. Even if you're not trying to like dig into your childhood and you're just like scared of all that, just having someone to talk to outside of your friends, outside of your partner, whoever it is, just having an unbiased opinion and another perspective from someone who has a professional lens is really nice. And if you can do therapy and coaching at the same time, it's a bomb combination. So just throwing that out there.
Agreed. Yes. Okay, so let's bring this back around to your fantastic business. Okay, you are coached up, you are therapied up, you are vibing high, your frequencies are up there, you're doing all your witchy shit, and now you're like, you know what I think I'll do? Manifest a product and build my business out.
Yes.
So you started with it on yourself. You created your master blend. And y'all, I know you heard her say the rosemary oil and all that stuff before. Don't go try and go in your kitchen and whip this stuff up. Just buy it from Kollective Koils because you don't even know how much she's using of what. Don't go burning your scalp off, okay? Thanks.
Yes. So, agreed. Because essential oils are very strong, and if used improperly, that could go very left. So,
yes. This child, she's a dean. She was studying. She was mixing and doing chemistry and shit. You did all that back work, and then you presented it to the world. You're like, hey, I was just amplifying these beautiful type 4 kurls, coils, kinks, and now I'm presenting this for you. Was there a shift that you had to do mindset-wise or confidence-wise to push that out into the world? Or was it like a natural progression for you? Talk to me.
It was a complete mindset shift that I had to do to even push it out there. It had been a thought in my mind maybe 6 months prior to 2020, but I still didn't know how. I was like, you know, people are asking me to come up with a product. I don't know how to do it. I have no clue where to begin. And then around the beginning of the year, I spoke to another psychic who I definitely really trust. And she pretty much told me like, you know, you're going to have a business that's going to take off, and it's going to take off for a while for you, and it's going to go very well. You know, you're going to need to do a lot of self-care and self-love during the journey of having your business, but just keep having tunnel vision. You've been doing the work, and, you know, your angels and everyone's been working together so that you can meet this point. Danny, I was like, nope. I was like, nope, she lying.
Girl.
Because I was like, there's no way in hell. I'm like, I don't have a product. I don't have an idea. I've never sold anything before. Like, that's not my personality. I'm like, I'm just shy. Let me just be shy and quiet. So
I need to pause you right there. Everybody listening, this is exactly what not to do. Do not focus on what is. Do not focus on the how. Focus on the trusting and the believing in the universe. Okay, keep going.
Yes. So I started talking about it. I think that was the first step. And I know sometimes people are like, don't be telling everybody your ideas, but talking about it held me accountable. And I talked about it to the extent of like talking to my audience about it too, and literally telling them, what is it that you guys would want? And I remember polling and asking repeatedly, what do you guys want from Kollective Koils? And people were saying they would want a hair growth oil. And I'm like, okay, well, how much are you willing to pay for it? I don't want it to be something outlandishly expensive. And, you know, all the while, I have no clue. I don't even know where to buy bottles from. No clue. But I'm getting the same feedback, you know, make a hair growth oil. You know, we want to learn how to grow our hair. So I'm like, okay. And I talked to my best friend about it, who is my business bestie. And she's like, you know how to grow your hair though. Like she was like, I've watched you big chop like 5 times, and each time like your hair grew back quickly. And even when you were stressed and, dealing with alopecia and all, like you made the right concoction to get your hair growing back. You did all the things. She's like, share whatever that was. And I'm like, okay, I guess, but how? So I'm still asking, but how? And I started just asking different women who I knew were Black business owners, and literally connected with one. And she was basically like, you just need to start. Like, you just need to start looking up on Google and start. Order the thing and start. And I'm like, what? I'm like, but I don't know. So I did know intuitively, something in my spirit did know what to do. I had been listening to enough podcasts, following enough women in the Black business community to know. I had been seeing all of this stuff for long enough where all I needed to do was to order the thing and order labels, order all the things, and tell my audience and start. And yeah, that's
that's a shift. That is a major mindset shift to start before you're ready. And you'll hear that advice from a lot of people who are more successful than you, and you're going to be like, yikes, I can't. But spoiler alert, you have to, because you're never going to feel ready. I have a friend who is a surgeon who has an MD. She's, working on people, keeping them alive. And she's like, well, I can't do that until I get an MPH. I'm like, you're a whole doctor. Yes. If you got an MPH, all you're going to say next is, well, I need a PhD in order to do that business. And it's just like, no, you just need to start.
Just starting. Like,
period.
I think that other part is like that imposter syndrome, like not feeling like you're there or that you're ready. And it's like, girl, people were asking you 4 years ago for a product from Kollective Koils. You've been ready. Like, share your story. And the cool thing is, before I actually bottled up this hair oil, I wrote the ebook, and that ebook actually helped me of just like thinking through what were the steps that I took throughout this whole journey, and all these big chops and all of the things. And actually, the chapter that everyone says is their favorite is a chapter about hair oils. And in that chapter, I actually had to go back into that chapter and talk about the hair growth oil that I created, because at the time that wasn't a thing. I was just writing. So that ended up being everyone's favorite chapter. And they felt like they learned something. They had a big takeaway. And I'm like, okay, cool. Now we have an actual hair growth oil that pairs with it. So
smart. It sounds like your product manifested itself for you through that. And in writing the book, it's like you prove to yourself that you're not an imposter. It's like, here's all the shit I know, and it's helping all these women. So it's like, here's your proof that you are an expert. So it helped you with your mindset shifting. I love this tale of growth. This is fantastic.
Thank you. I feel like writing the book helped me even think through the product too. And it helped me just get to the point of like, hey, now that you have the book, what's next? Like, give something to people that you're talking about in this book so that they can have something tangible. And that tangible thing is something that I'm talking about myself in the book and my experiences. So this tangible thing is actually something I use on my own hair.
Yeah. Okay. So you have dropped lots of gems, from personal development to self-care and self-love to business building. Is there one last thing you want to leave with the women who are listening who may want to manifest a lifestyle business the way you have? Is there anything you want to let them know?
Trust yourself, put one foot in front of the other, and just go. Just do it. You might be like, I suffer from anxiety. I'm like shaking and jittery all the time, and sweating and freaking out all the time. If I can do it, you can do it. Like, you got this. Like, literally, just do it. Like, your emotions are always going to feel like a lot. But the more that I call it like exposure therapy. The more you expose yourself to the thing that you're afraid of, the less that thing becomes so scary. And it almost becomes like a moment where you look back and you're like, why the hell was I afraid of that? Because you just kept exposing yourself to it. So do it afraid, continue to just put one foot in front of the other. And if you have that gut pull, just trust that. Try not to listen to the fear. And if the fear is loud, like let it be loud and continue to move. Just move. Move your hands, move your feet, move.
I love that. You heard it, folks. You heard it here first. Actually, you probably heard it many times, but this is the time you're going to actually get up and go and do something about it, right? Right. Okay, so Charmaine, thank you so much for being here. Let everybody know where they can find you, where they can pick up this magical oil that grows your hair 2 inches in a week. We're just making that up. Don't believe me.
Yes. So first of all, thank you, Danny, so much.
My pleasure.
And everyone can find us at Kollective Koils. It's with a K, Kollective, and another K for Koils, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. You can find us on Pinterest as well. Everything is Kollective Koils. And website is www.kollectivekoils.com.
Fantastic. And for everyone who did not write that all down, I have it in the show notes for you. And again, thank you so much for being here, Charmaine, and giving us all your gems. And everyone listening, thank you for listening. Appreciate you as usual. I'll be back next week with another manifesting episode, solo episode. So I'll see you next Saturday. Bye.
Bye. Thanks.